Hello there, my very good friends. On this wrestling news video, AEW Morale is on the up.
AEW All Out 2025 is geographically on the up.
Kevin Nash thinks nobody sells anymore.
Logan Paul thinks you don't really hate him, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Me too.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Andy.
I'm Michael.
And this is the news. All right. Let's talk about AEW Morale. Usually when it's AEW Morale stories, it's, hey, something bad has happened and nobody's happy and all this. Obviously, there have been very many big backstage incidents in that company over the year that have had, like, knock-on effects that have, lingered for a while. But some positive news, which is great to hear, but not really surprising when you look at the shows at the moment, is that Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, he was asked during a Q&A to elaborate on recent comments about morale improving in the company and it being up, and he said the following: "I'm not back there experiencing it, it's just something I've heard from a number of talent over the past 4 or 5 months," so basically this year, dating to late last year. Yeah, there you go. There certainly seems to be less division, although that will never completely go away. I mean, the magnitude of the incidents involving a man from Chicago, and some other
Colt
stuff.
Cabana.
Colt Cabana. It was all his fault. Sorry, Colt. That's not even remotely true.
It's not true.
It's just nonsense. No, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He was a victim in all of this, 5 times over.
Had a rough go of it.
But yeah, it's obviously been a tumultuous couple of years. Jack Perry fights, brawl out.
The Britt Baker stuff.
Andrade trying to get fired allegedly by starting fights with people back. Like, a load of stuff, has gone on and on and on. But it sounds like things are on the up. And look, if you look at the past few months of shows that AEW has had, it kind of goes hand in hand with this, right? The company, like, creatively, in terms of, like, connecting with their audience, is kind of on a roll at the moment.
Yeah.
Not a week goes by. I mean, sometimes, every show has like a 1 week where the fans are maybe like, that wasn't so great. But most weeks, people are coming out of these AEW shows like going, oh, that ruled. I love this MJF angle with the Hurt Syndicate, that party match, that all-star tag, 6-man, whatever was really great. Oh man, Hangman versus Will Ospreay coming up. Mercedes Money versus Jamie Hayter. That's been really well built. Oh wow, look at all these people who are coming in. Across the board. Oh, Beckla's coming in, that's cool. There's a lot of real good positivity around the company at the moment. Their viewership has been very stable this year. It's kind of just sat at roughly the same levels, not been any notable declines. Obviously you get the odd week here and there where it goes and all that stuff. They've got a lot of reasons to be cheerful. Yeah. I think obviously they would I'm sure sometime in the future they would love to get back to a reality where they can put 8,000-9,000 people or whatever in a basketball stadium. But at the same time, while attendances are low or lower than they have been in previous years, it has made a lot of sense for them to run the smaller buildings. And actually, I think personally, the smaller buildings have created a nicer atmosphere and they're a cool visual on TV with these balconies and all this kind of stuff. I like it when wrestling promotions go to weird places. I liked the visual of the NXT show in the Madison Square Garden Theatre with the lights on the roof recently. There's all kinds of cool places. They're going to the ECW Arena soon. Yeah. AEW is. They've got that residency in Chicago as well, which seems to be in outer space with a castle or something. It looks strange. I'm into it. But yeah, look, they're on a good run at the moment. And while creativity is always subjective, not everyone's going to like everything you do. You can't really argue that the broad reaction and the connection they have with their audience has improved a lot this year. So it makes sense that morale's up as well.
Yeah, these things do go hand in hand, don't they? I always get my metaphors mixed up about the rising tide raising all ships and the snowball effect rolling down the hill, but they both mean good ultimately. And yeah, certainly within our bubble, conversation on AEW has been more positive in 2025, and you've to sort of just kind of piggyback on your point, really, like generally speaking, even when a Dynamite isn't like a home run, because it's in the middle of a bunch of episodes that have been great, everybody's like, oh yeah, it wasn't great this week, but every other week's been great, and all those big stories are developing in such a nice and pleasing way, and the talent feel like they're kind of like really finding the spot again. The storytelling feels like it's leading by the end destination and working backwards rather than going week to week and reacting to things and stuff like that. And wrestling's like anything else, like if you think about the stories we aggregate and where the majority of them come from, they come from people within those locker rooms. So it stands to reason that if there's a positive vibe and more people are happy doing the job than not, then that's the message that's going to come out too. And it certainly doesn't hurt as well, from like as us on the outside looking in, to hear that as well. It's worthwhile getting this information out for the likes of us to all talk about, that things are good in the locker room, because if, as now in this post-kayfabe era where you're kind of as interested about the backstage as what's happening in front of the screen, if you believe in that the morale is good backstage, that's going to be reflected in the performance on screen as well. The Punk thing, the reality of the CM Punk cloud that hung over AEW was that it often didn't matter what was happening on TV, because it was almost impossible.
It was overshadowed.
Yeah, it was just impossible to judge it on its own steam. Everyone across all of wrestling, at long last, seems to have moved past some of the events of 2022 and 2023. And I think you kind of, both CM Punk, the performer over here, and AEW, the promotion over here, are better off for all of that being finally like brushed aside. Yeah,
definitely. I think that there's so many events that cast a cloud over AEW and its public perception over the years. I still think that showing the footage was a terrible idea, perception-wise. I've always thought that at a time when WWE is doing such wide-reaching PR work, Le Gentle, all that stuff, that AEW should indulge with it a little bit as well. But look, they're on a good run at the moment, and from a fan standpoint, I don't see how you can't be happy about that. Obviously, in this landscape of wrestling in 2025, there are people whose personality is more based on hating a company than the supporting the one they like. We just, ignore those people. They don't matter. They simply don't matter. They should not affect your enjoyment of anything. So yeah, good. It's good. Like, I'm glad that the people I enjoy the most in that company are going to work and having a good time and feeling fulfilled and all that stuff. Look, it's not a perfect product by any stretch. I would like Brody King and Mark Briscoe to win more matches, personally. But I'm sure both of those guys are really kind of happy with how things are going. They're on TV every week. Yeah, it's good stuff. You like to hear it, and ultimately, in this ecosystem, companies doing well is good for everybody. So I'm turning into a just enjoy stuff guy, aren't I? I'm turning an average blue sky user over here. To be fair, that's my gimmick on there as well. But yeah, good. It's nice.
The sky is bluest in the Great White North, which is perhaps why AEW are heading there with All Out for the very first time. Obviously, one of the tentpole pay-per-views of AEW long before they became a monthly pay-per-view company. It's taking place in Chicago every year, apart from 2020 when it was obviously in Daly's place because of the pandemic. Mostly from the Sears Center, the Now Arena, once in the United Center in 2023. But yeah, Chicago's been the home until now, when it will be moving north to Toronto. It's going to be taking place from the Scotiabank Arena. It's the first time that AEW have been at Scotiabank since Forbidden Door 2023. And they had a white hot crowd for that show that night as well. That was the Ospreay Omega rematch from New Japan. That was Punker and Kojima, if I remember correctly.
That was a fun match.
Yeah, that crowd was unbelievable. So they'll be buzzed to be getting All Out back. And Tony Khan is thrilled to be going back to Toronto for All Out as well. He was speaking to the Toronto Sun, and he said, Toronto is one of the greatest wrestling cities on the planet. It's a very special place. When I was in college, I went on spring vacation to Toronto. It's a place I love. It's what we call in America a Mount Rushmore city. One of the real crown jewel cities, definitely to me one of my top 4 pro wrestling cities on the planet. He then goes on to say, the Scotiabank Arena is a mecca for us, mecca for pro wrestling, and I'm excited about bringing AEW All Out back to the Scotiabank Arena for All Out 2025. That's going to take place on September 20th. So yeah, leaving Chicago, which is obviously a place that Tony Khan holds very, very dear and is a vital part of the DNA of All Elite Wrestling. But based on Forbidden Door 2023, and just like in general, like he's not lying, is he? Toronto and Canadian wrestling venues, there aren't too many bigger and better than this one.
No, exactly. And they've ran Chicago a lot. And they're running Chicago a lot this year, and obviously the surrounding towns and suburbs and stuff. So yeah, inevitably you're going to have to take the foot off the pedal a little bit when it comes to that, because you don't want to kill the town. The more you run a place consistently, usually it's a case of diminishing returns when it comes to attendances, and we have seen that. So this is also a year where they've moved Double or Nothing out of Vegas. They went, is it Scottsdale, Arizona?
Yeah, Arizona.
They're going to this week. Is it this weekend? Goodness.
Yeah, it's this weekend. Forbidden Doors in the UK for the first time.
Goodness gracious. Forbidden Doors switched over to the O2.
All Inns left Wembley. Yeah. Year of it.
It's not Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door has switched from America, but they've moved their London. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, they're moving stuff around, and I think it's a good idea. Obviously, All Out will be back in Chicago at some point.
Yeah.
But it does make sense to give these towns a break. And give them a little rest and let the fans, also when you're a fan in that city and they run like say 10 times a year, you're thinking about how you spend your money, aren't you? You're thinking, cool, that's going to cost me like 4 figures to attend all these. So you pick and choose, and that's why,
When is the residency? When's the Chicago residency?
I don't
in
recall.
The calendar. I feel like that's like late summer as well.
Yeah.
So it'd be almost like running into like All Out, which is a big, as you say, like in terms, it's one thing to choose over the course of a 12-month period. Yeah. It's over like a 2-month one.
Yeah.
You're probably just having to pick one or the other, aren't you? So
exactly.
one's gonna damage the other.
Exactly. And Canada rules. Lots of great things have come from Canada. Kenny Omega. Lots of bad things have come from there as well. Drake. But actually, not my. Bears are good. Bears rule. Bears rule. Bears beats. What is it?
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
That's it.
When I visited Vancouver on the way, I was googling what animals to be scared of.
Bears.
And a bear apparently just was like kicking around the mountains, and he was like, "I'm gonna swim to Vancouver." And there was a bear like sort of in the streets of Vancouver, and somebody was like, "How'd the bear get there?" And some nature experts had like spotted some clips of him just swimming. He just fell in the water, and he's like, "Well, I'm swimming to Vancouver." Just rocked up on the seafront in North Vancouver.
Bears rock. Shout outs to the Jungle Skog. If you don't know what the Jungle Skog is, you should Google that immediately. And you should probably no, it's really nice. Okay. Actually, no, your kids are probably a bit old for a Jungle Skog, but the guy rules.
I'll give it a look.
Big fat bear, he rules. Right, all right. Let's talk about Kevin Nash and selling. Kevin Nash thinks that selling is kind of dying a little bit, and he's outlined a distinction between registering a move and selling its impact. This is on Click This, obviously, his podcast. Here's what he said. What I'm noticing more and more is that nobody sells, everybody registers. They register what's happening to them, but it's a turnaround and it's like nobody sells. Registering is just like, like this, and he gave like a brief reaction to like, say you're getting punched in the face. Oh, that's a register. Yeah. Where selling is like you're in trouble, like you're curling up in a ball. I probably should have filtered out the that's what it's like. Yeah, they do. It's like if you ever read like a transcript of Dave Meltzer. It's like you could condense 400 words into 50 a lot of the time. Dave loves that, Kevin Nash does too. I'm sure we do it as well without knowing. But yeah, he spoke a little bit about his own experience in working with Diamond Dallas Page. He said, I can remember a specific time when I was working with Dallas and I would do something, I'd cut him off and I would just tell him, I said, just sell till I come back to you. This allowed for a more dramatic and believable narrative in the match. And he said the while Page was selling, Nash himself would be like in the corner checking my note, like I'm selling what he had given me, it's our match, So yeah, I think this is a really interesting discussion. I think that often the selling point is kind of weaponized against certain styles of wrestling. A lot of people will go, you're not selling just because a guy does like a moonsault or a space flying type, like a flip or whatever, and it's thrown against that type of wrestler quite a lot. But I think sometimes the conversation lacks a bit of nuance, and Nash has brought a bit of nuance to this here by outlining, the difference between just registering that a move has happened and actually selling the long-term consequences. I think a lot of the time, a lot of people confuse bumping and selling. Yeah. Like people go, oh, what a sell by Dolph Ziggler taking that, when in actuality you're praising the bump, which is the moment of physical impact. You're showing that the physical impact has happened, and then selling is to show that it's damaged you, the emotional side, the mental side of things. But also it's things like showing fatigue after 20 minutes into a match and things like that. It's a whole layered, nuanced thing. And there's different types of selling as well. There's Terry Funk Jelly Leg selling. There's the type of selling that Shawn Michaels employed against Hulk Hogan. There's the fighting spirit style, where it's like you might take 5 hits and you don't go down, but I'm so tough. This hurts, but I'm not going to show you that it hurts until eventually you just collapse because of the accumulation of blows. It's such a nuanced thing. It's such a complicated thing. It requires a lot of to have a good faith conversation about it, it takes a lot of time. That's why I'm rabbiting on and on and on. It's good evidence of that. But yeah, I do think that in this day and age, it's quite a pointed issue, and I do think it's underserved, the conversation, in that it often lacks the layers it requires to be productive.
Yeah, it's one of them things as well where, and I think you're right, I think Nash has attempted at least to not come across as a bad faith actor in his specific analysis here, but to sort of use a broad brushstroke on all of wrestling, it's a bit like, sort of like, again, every wrestler that's selling is a bit like a worked punch. Every wrestler's going to do it slightly different, and some are going to do it the way you like it, and some are going to do it the way you don't. But then you could equally disagree on the quality of someone's worked punch. And yeah, you know what a bad one looks like and a good one, but you know what I mean. Like there's a massive spectrum between the best, the worst, and the middle section. And the same can be said for selling. It's a skill like any other. And I think the interesting thing, it very much, I think, would depend, like, for what it's worth, if there was such a thing as content and aggregation in the year 2000 that was videos like this, that was instead like, you know, a long write-up that we would have, like, on our early dial-up internet or whatever, there would have been a legend saying how nobody sells anymore in the year 2000. Then you go back to 1980 and there would have been a legend saying that nobody sells anymore, and then and so on and so on and so on. This cycle will never change. There is an element where, like, as wrestling evolves, some certain tenets tend to get chipped away that a prior generation look at it and go, it doesn't look like my wrestling, that. And I would say we experience that as fans as well. I think a lot of fans, like, of different ages, go back and watch things that maybe was the stuff that got them hooked, or the stuff that really turned them from people that just liked wrestling to loved it, you know, and then go back and, like, analyse and really deeply look into that and kind of see where the difference was. Plenty of wrestlers never even imagined that their work would ever get watched again. I've heard Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart talk about how it would look on tape, but loads of wrestlers just thought they were making a town. They were never thinking about how that would get, like, explored and scrutinised. So there was, like, this world is one that a lot of old timers never imagined we would live in. So I do understand when they kind of look back and see it, and it just does not resemble the wrestling that they were taught or they were practitioners of. Everyone has a voice on this, I suppose. Like, you yourselves might think that, like, a flippy match, I think, is a good example. That's often one that's weaponised against selling. A flippy match completely betrays the core tenets of the industry. Equally, there'll be people, particularly like WWE, that, like, are just obsessed by how a wrestler will stop and perform everything to one camera right here, and it couldn't look more polished. And that is what takes people. That's what breaks people's immersion, you know. So there's no right or wrong on this, and as long as we're all nice to each other, I think we can all disagree.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's you know, things evolve in wrestling, and when things evolve in any art form, you gain some stuff and you lose some stuff. I think that today's wrestlers are far more athletic, built to withstand you know, these crazy spots and stunts that have come with time, and you know they're working
less at the top level as well. Nice. Exactly. They can do more because they've got more time to do more.
They're taking better care of themselves as well. All of that stuff. At the same time, I do think as that has come, we have lost some of the old magic for sure. Yeah, I think you can get it back. I mean, like, if you look at something like stooging to the crowd and, like, playing up the crowd as a face, and if you're a heel, like, taking time to flex and pose and be a jackass and all that stuff, that's something that has definitely diminished over the years. But if you go and look at, like, what a Kyle Fletcher is doing right now and what a Ricochet is doing right now, when they, like, immediately the priority is to be an asshole to the audience or play up their persona. It's like that shows that these things that may be lacking in prominence can come back, and we're very much at the early stage of that.
Cody Rhodes is a heart and sleeve babyface. He's doing what his dad and millions others did for decades, you know.
Actually, he's a great example because he kicked out of a burning hammer last year.
He sure did,
and he maybe should have sold that. So yeah, definitely there are things, and there are definitely matches I watch where, like, someone will take, like, a really devastating move, they'll sell for about 10 seconds and then they're back up. But if that doesn't break your immersion and that doesn't diminish your enjoyment, you shouldn't care about that. For me, it's something I like to see. I like to see people, like, I like to see my favorite wrestler, Tomohiro Ishii, 20 minutes into a match, barely holding his shoulder in the joint because he's absorbed so much punishment and he can't take it anymore. I like stuff like that. But if you're into something else, if you're into more the boom, 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 get up and hit you again kind of style, fair play. We are all different people and we all have different tastes. I think that selling is an interesting discussion, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the be-all and end-all of your enjoyment. And actually, I think this was a well-articulated and balanced point from Kevin Nash.
Trust your feelings on these things. Yeah.
Trust the process.
I
don't know what process.
Don't trust Logan Paul.
Boom!
It's general. But listen to him if you want, and if that's your cup of tea, and drink Prime if you like it. I wouldn't, and I certainly wouldn't give it to my kids. But
thank you. You've brought some balance.
There we go. There's both sides covered, right? Because if you want to listen to him, you always can on the million different outlets he gets, including on his Impulsive podcast, where he was talking a bit about getting hate from WWE fans. And I don't think he was particularly referring to being a heel on screen. I think he was talking more about the actual dislike that he must be aware of. From the likes of someone like me that just said it, and others on the internet that might not be the kindest about Logan Paul, the person or the wrestler. And he said, quote, I'm going to say it, it's true, Logan Paul hate is forced. In WWE, Logan Paul hate is forced. Say whatever the F you want about me that's negative, about my ability to wrestle, about my ability on the mic, even about my ability to become champion and beat Jey Uso. It's not true. You're lying to yourself. Of course, he's referring to the fact that he's going to be taking on Jey Uso for the world title at Saturday night's main event this weekend. They were potentially lined up Gunther for Logan Paul if he was to win, or Seth Rollins for Gunther if Gunther wins, or so on and so on. Jey Uso's got this long line of opponents that believe that he's going to be easy pickings for the world title at the moment. Logan Paul is one of the latest. And yes, there has been, I would say, what's happened with Logan Paul, because he is a well, you know what? I'm going to use Dwayne's term. He's an actual disruptor, Logan Paul. Yes. He has come into this world and thought, I think I can do that. And he's actually, for a minute, done it. And he's he had the benefit of surprise. If you look at his sort of 2022 and 2023 stuff, because the expectations didn't exist, because he was a guy from an entire different field, he's come in and he's earnestly surprised people with the things that he's got a very clear natural instinct for. That being a very good at projecting being an arsehole, and genuine athleticism that you kind of have to begrudgingly be impressed by.
Absolutely, yeah.
Into 2024 and now 2025, there is that sort of thing amongst wrestling fans of what else you got. That's a what have you done for me lately, that kind of thing. And the athleticism starts to wear thin. The performative internet asshole stuff only goes so far. And then you're starting to look at the matches for their, just how psychologically sound are they really? Just how many of the nuances, the stuff we just discussed that Kevin Nash talks about, how much of that is really getting picked up by Logan Paul versus the 2 or 3 things he's really good at. And I would argue not that much. I think the AJ Styles WrestleMania match serves as a monument to the stuff he's not getting rather than the stuff he is.
Yeah, perfect comparison.
Point. And I think that might be some of the hate he's referring to, and some of the criticism he is now facing for the first time since signing with WWE. He probably went 2 years of seeing quite a lot of praise, quite a lot of surprise from the likes of us. You look at how great he was in the match against the Mysterios at WrestleMania 38. The Roman Reigns title match was a wonderful piece of business, and he worked as a babyface in that as well. There were genuine flashes of brilliance and inspiration. For me, those have dissolved, and I sense that's the hate he's referring to.
I think so.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't call it hate. I would just say a bit of justified critical analysis.
Yeah, I agree. I think that disruptor is a good word for him and his brother. Logan's disrupted wrestling.
Yeah.
He disrupted the energy drink market with Prime. They've both disrupted boxing and combat sports.
Yeah.
They've entered those markets and caused change. They have. The influencer boxing thing is massive, much to the chagrin of traditional boxing fans. These are things you don't necessarily have to like, and actually when you look at the marketing of Prime, it's a lot of it's garbage when you really dive into it. But they're things you don't have to like, but objectively they have been successful in these realms. Logan Paul, I think, he can't not understand the reasons that a lot of people dislike him. A lot of that is related to the Forest and various other things that have come out of his mouth over the years as well. So he can't be blind to those. If he is, I'd love to live in that bubble. So I don't know. For me, he's a heel on TV. There was reports when he started early on that he was insistent on being a babyface, even though, his natural demeanor in wrestling is someone you'd want to boo, smug, flashy guy, influencer guy, whatever. So there was always a bit of early on, his vision of himself being maybe a little bit out of sync with how people are going to react long term. And I do think he is better as a heel. So maybe a bit of that's just creeping back in to where he's like, what the hate is for us. And it's like, well, ultimately what I would want my heels to say, and a lot of this is real life stuff, but if you're, a controversial dude, and he is, I mean, obviously don't come out and cut promos about what you did in that forest or any nonsense like that. Crosses boundaries. But like, I would want him to come on the podcast and go, yeah, I'm a heel, everyone hates me, I love it. Yeah. I'd want that. What's
he pushing back against?
Yeah, like instead of like trying to do this meta thing, if he was truly living in the fiction of being a pro wrestler, I'd want him to go on the podcast and go, no one likes me, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm the man, and I'm going to prove it when I beat Jey Uso. Rather than going, it's so forced and it's so all this stuff. It's like, yeah, live in your character a little bit, man. Like kayfabe it up a little bit. I know it's difficult when he does a podcast every week and all this stuff. But hey, look, I think the Jey Uso match will be really, it's really interesting. I have no idea what it's going to look like. Jay's had good matches recently with Seth Rollins, and he had a good match on Raw with Braun Breaker. I think Braun's probably his best opponent.
I agree. Yeah.
Gunther as well last year, or the year before. Whenever those matches were, my brain doesn't work. Those were good too. But Jay, he's not Misawa. And Logan Paul definitely, like you said in the AJ Styles match, the limitations have become a bit evident more recently. So what does that match between the two of them look like? I think if it's a good match, it is a feather in both of their caps. So we'll see. We'll see how it comes out. But yeah, that's Logan Paul. You have anything to add, or should we wrap this puppy up?
Let us know in the comments. Do you hate him for real, or do you even hate the TV character? Where are you at with Logan Paul at this point? I'm curious. What more is there to do with him?
What else can he disrupt?
Yeah. What thing do you love that Logan Paul could really mix in with?
Music probably.
That's cool.
If Logan Paul releases a hardcore album, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'll probably just leave the world.
New genre.
Yeah, I'm going to Mars. me and Marvin the Martian, we're gonna chill up there.
Those guys love space and that. They'll be up there next.
Yeah. Who else lives on Mars?
Jay used to tweet about Martians.
Katy Perry.
She's up
there.
Yeah, she kicks out in space.
Lil Wayne, he was always calling himself a Martian.
Right, okay.
Although it's the Martian, Space Jam, Jordan.
Yeah.
Well,
they're all there.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger and Total Recall. There's a woman with free breasts up there. That was weird, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Colin Farrell version of that?
I've not, no.
I bet it's no good.
Has he got 3 boobs?
Maybe. I don't know.
I've seen Phone Booth.
No.
It's a good Colin Farrell film. I like Phone Booth.
I like Colin Farrell. The Banshees of... I'm never going to pronounce the name of the place, but it begins with an I. You should watch that. It's really good.
Okay.
Colin Farrell's in it. He's really good, apparently, in The Penguin as well, which I've not seen yet, but...
Didn't he do like a voiceover of the 30 things you can't believe a wrestler said on TV?
He did actually.
Yeah.
He did actually. And look, it's on your screen right now. Actually, maybe it wasn't Colin Farrell, but it was someone who's just as handsome.
Look just like
just as gorgeous. 30 wildest things the wrestler said on live TV, folks. I mean, look at that thumbnail. Look at New Jack in that thumbnail and tell me that this isn't he. Bye.